Thank you. Thank you so much. I begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. It really is a great pleasure to welcome you to the 7th annual Breakfast for Brain Cancer. It's a brunch held in honour of all those affected by brain cancer. White Pearl Foundation fundraising events such as this one support the Brain Cancer Group's research arm, which is housed on the Royal North Shore Hospital campus, undoubtedly a centre of excellence in the treatment of brain cancer. Today we are honoured to have with us Dr. Raymond Cook, the Brain Cancer Group Chairman and co-founder, accompanied by his lovely wife Pamela, who is also a staunch supporter of the Brain Cancer Group and the White Pearl Foundation. Welcome, Raymond and Pamela. We will hear from Dr. Alexander Yule, medical oncologist and TBCG researcher, who will share insights from our translational laboratory housed in Sydney University's Colling Institute of Medical Research, also on the North Shore Hospital campus. And also with us, the newest member of our TBCG team, expanding our critical patient and carer support pillar, a very, very important pillar, working alongside our highly knowledgeable and experienced nurse practitioner, Marina Castellan. We welcome our registered nurse and soon-to-be nurse practitioner, she's training under Marina, our new care coordinator, Paige Craswell. Can we give a round of applause for Paige? We are so excited to have her on the team. It's a very, very busy medical practice up there and they need more help. A very warm welcome to Emily Kirk, patient of our TBCG medical directors, who will generously share the story of her journey. And welcome also to the Kirk family. Thank you. Welcome TBCG ambassadors, Evan and Margaret Schonk, Ed Apon and Elaine McCarran, husband and mother of our beloved ambassador, Matthew McCarran. A special acknowledgement of the family of Tim Cohen. I'm very pleased that Tim's wife and sister, Barbara Cohen and Annie Williams, whose initial support enabled us to establish the Australia First Imaging Laboratory, curated and led by our TBCG Director, Radiation Oncologist, Associate Professor Michael Back, are here with us today. Welcome, Barbara and Annie. The Cohen family's continued generous support over many years is enabling us to keep expanding the lab, all in memory of Tim. I keep repeating this, but I need to say it because it's very important. All of us at the Brain Cancer Group remain most grateful. Welcome to representatives of various organisations. The Sisters of Charity, a remarkable organisation. Please take time to look at their work, particularly their very impressive scholarship program supporting young vulnerable Australians. Sequence Foundation, Hellenic Club New South Wales, the Golden Era Reunion Team, the Catherian Association of Australia, the Hellenic Lyceum, Radio 1683 AM Wednesday Night Live, Greek Young Matrons and our beloved St George Ladies Auxiliary. Thank you also to our new TBC community fundraisers who've now had 2 major events for us. Kerry and Matt O'Brien and your team, thank you for everything you do. Thank you to our White Pearl Foundation sponsors, Greek Herald, Orima Communications and Zest Catering, who yet again this year have offered us a very generous charity rate for this event, including waiving of the room hire. Thank you, Raffle, chef and team. As I always say, we keep coming back because you take such good care of us. A big shout out to our table captains. I've said it before and I'll continue to express this. I put out the call, but you fill the room. Penny, Chrysanthi, Miranda, Desima, Kerry, and to all those who called even one friend to join us today, thank you for making those calls. Thank you to our prize donors, those who sourced prizes for us, those who've made cash donations, and of course our volunteers. A big shout out to our volunteers. We can't do this without them. We're grateful to all our attendees and supporters and wish you an enjoyable and memorable brunch. Now we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. Our fundraising program consists of a general raffle, a $10 per ticket, or a book of 10 tickets for $50. Again, we've had donations of some great prizes from generous donors, so please engage with volunteers who are selling these tickets, and you can also buy them at the cashiers. This year we have a special raffle. We have a chance to win this beautiful Felicia Aroni painting. Again, we've had I'm repeating myself. We'll be selling tickets at $20 each, so don't miss out on an opportunity to take one of Felicia's beautiful paintings home. They're very sought after. Please also make your way to the bazaar, which is wrapped around the room, and purchase these donated prizes. Buy for yourself, buy for friends and family, get organised super early for birthdays, Christmas, or your upcoming occasions, confident in the knowledge that 100% of the funds raised in this room today will go directly to brain cancer research. I just want to point out 3 really beautiful pieces because they're handmade. A lot of love went into those. Vivian Kasapakis crocheted a stunning cot blanket, which I think is just over there, especially for us today. And Fiona Gazepis created 2 stunning wood pieces, also just over in that section over there. Tax-deductible donations are always welcome, especially as we approach the end of the financial year. You can donate by filling in the form in your booklet and making payment at the cashiers. And I just want you to know that no matter how small that extra may be, collectively, it really does all make a significant difference to the research. And finally, a very special offer today. Penny Neofitu, another untiring volunteer and supporter, through her company Travel Managers, is offering a donation to the White Pearl Foundation from any bookings made with her this year for an Oceania cruise, which look spectacular. The details of this offer are in the booklet, so please have a look and take home the lovely scroll and pen on your table, provided by Oceania Cruises, represented here today by Martine Nunes, who organised for the donation of a stunning raffle prize, a great opportunity to visit and enjoy lunch on the Oceania Riviera. I might just make a note that Zest asked me to tell you that the vases aren't to be taken home, please, because it happens all the time. But certainly your table gifts that we've prepared for you, the little vases that are in the plastic, that's all for you. And please help yourselves to the petals as well that were so kindly donated by Mr. Roses. And now I'd like to introduce our impressive first speaker, Dr. Alexander Yule. Dr. Yule is a medical oncologist with a keen interest in primary brain tumours. He gained his medical degree from the University of New England. After completing his fellowship in neuro-oncology and translational research at Royal North Shore Hospital, Dr. Yule is currently working in the Oncology Clinical Trials Unit and is a regular contributor within the neuro-oncology multidisciplinary team. Dr. Yule is enrolled in a PhD to study how the molecular composition of gliomas influences the tumour response to treatment and how these different molecular subtypes interact with the immune cells surrounding the tumour. It is hoped this information may lead to new therapies for some glioma types.
There we go. So my name's Alex Yule. I'm a medical oncologist at Royal North Shore and a neuro-oncologist. And I'm doing my PhD in brain cancer at the Bill Walsh Brain Lab at the Colling, which is right next to Royal North Shore Hospital. As part of that is my role as the Brain Cancer Group Research Fellow to look at increasing research and output in the Bill Walsh Brain Lab. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you all today about the exciting things we're looking at and what we're doing in the Bill Walsh Brain Lab and the steps that are being made to improve outcomes for the terrible disease that is brain cancer, and some things that we've been working on which are quite exciting, and none of which would be possible, none of which we'd be able to do without the very generous support of the Brain Cancer Group. Thank you. So I think, that's much better. You'll have to forgive me. I love my analogies, and I've gone a bit analogy heavy as I usually do. And in the spirit of this beautiful setting at the Royal Motor Yacht Club, I've for better or worse, have tried to make the analogies yacht themed. So we'll see how this goes, but I thought we'd kick it off with a yacht themed question. So the Sydney to Hobart, one of the most famous races in the world, what is the crew size limit for Sydney to Hobart? Does anybody think it's 2 to 8 people? No? 5 to 24 people? Yeah, we've got a few, yeah. Exactly 12 people? Or there's no limit? No limit. So I would usually go C if I wasn't sure, but in this case, it's B. Yeah. So this is our crew at the Bill Walsh Brain Lab. So in the lab itself, we've got Dr. Amanda Hudson, who's the lead of the lab research. And we have Hassie De Silva, who's a very senior research assistant who has 20 years of experience in molecular research, and her time in the lab for brain cancer research is completely funded by the Brain Cancer Group. We have Dr. Julius Kim, who's a senior scientist who's looking at vaccine therapy for brain cancer, and our honours student Tina, who's just joined us, who's looking at new treatments in brain cancer. We have, in addition, we have Dr. Adrian Lee, who's on the board of the Brain Cancer Group and a neuro-oncologist, a senior neuro-oncologist himself, and also did his PhD at the Colling. And of course, I mean, I don't think she needs an introduction, but we have Dr. Helen Wheeler, who, talking about rock stars, is the real rock star, who is, I'm very proud to say, is my mentor and is probably the mentor of most neuro-oncologists in Australia. And we're very, yeah. And we're very lucky to have her as the fearless leader of the Bill Walsh Lab and the Bill Walsh Brain Group. So what's our strengths and what do we do at the Bill Walsh Brain Lab? So we look at translational research. So usually what happens is there's the basic science research that often makes discoveries about how cancer works and grows, but it takes many years for that to filter into the clinic. But at the Bill Walsh Lab, we're at a very unique position because we're literally next door to Royal North Shore Hospital and the neuro-oncology unit there, which is one of the biggest in Australia. And that puts us in a unique position to drive the translational research, which is pushing the basic science research into the clinic. Helping that as well, we have the amazing resources. We have the Brain Cancer Group data bank, which has a massive compendium of clinical data from patients being treated at Royal North Shore Hospital. And on top of that, the Brain Imaging Lab, which is also a Brain Cancer Group project, which is really the one of a kind that filters all this detailed imaging information. And then on top of that, we've then got one of the largest collection of brain tumour samples in Australia, which is Dr. Ray Cook is the custodian of that as well. So very lucky to have all those resources, particularly the data banks, Brain Imaging Lab and the biobank. And then that then allows us to push ideas in the clinic back into science. And what we're particularly excited about and what I want to show you today is how that kick-starting process has led to some really exciting projects that we're working on. But next yacht question, what year did Australia win the America's Cup? Yeah, okay. I'm hearing it. So 1978, 1980, 1983. Yes. Okay. So this is the bottom of the Australia 2 that won the America's Cup. And the reason why I put that in there is the weird looking thing at the bottom, that blue thing is called a winged keel. And it was one of the reasons that helped them win. It added to the speed and in addition to other things, was considered one of the breakthroughs that made the Australia 2 so fast. And the reason why I'm talking about this in particular is I'm going to stretch the analogy to show that cancer cells also have to have a breakthrough. So the cancer cells that have something that make them faster, or in this case more aggressive, they are the ones that take over and dominate. And just like the wing kills, a technology that was a standout, cancer cells have certain changes in their machinery, in their genes, that make them stand out. And one of our major umbrella projects is we're looking at these standout genes, their winged keels, so to speak, and figuring out how to turn this strength into a weakness to target the cancer. And so one of these projects is what my PhD's on, is this gene called CDKN2A, and you can really think of this gene as the brakes on a train. And how the cancer cell uses this is it gets rid of that gene, so it gets rid of the brakes. And so it turns a normal train into a runaway bullet train that grows and grows and grows and is extremely fast. And what we found, we were the first to look at how losing that gene actually changes the behaviour of these cells in brain cancer. And that then led us to then start looking at ways to repurpose drugs and use new drugs to put the brakes back on. So we turn this runaway train back into a normal train and put the brakes on it. And that's what our honours student Tina's now looking at. And the other exciting thing with that, and the reason why I mentioned in particular, is using repurposed drugs. So a lot of drugs that have already been used and have been around for a very long time can be reused in cancer research, and they're cheaper. We know they're safe because they've been around for so long. They don't need to go through early trials. So by adding in this repurposed drugs, it means we can find drugs that we can bring into the clinic, into trials much, much faster. And so that's something that we've also focused on in the lab. Another project looking at features of the cancer is we've been trying to improve ways to detect and monitor brain cancer. In particular, we've repurposed an imaging technique used in prostate cancer that flags markers on the cell that in prostate cancer that lights up. But it's not just in prostate cancer, and ourselves and others have shown that it's in brain cancer as well. And using this marker to stick to brain cancer cells, we can use that to monitor and repurpose a technique that's already well used and well utilised in Australia for a different cancer. And excitingly, in particular, we found that a particularly aggressive subtype of glioblastoma brain cancer called gliosarcoma universally expresses this marker. And the reason why I mention this is this was an example where we could feed this. This has already started to change our practice. So already people with this type of cancer, we start using this PET scan to monitor and surveillance. But it also excitingly can be used for treatment. And this is an example of how leveraging our position in being next to North Shore as a translational research lab, we can accelerate things into the clinic much, much faster. The other thing we're looking at is using this scan called a PSMA PET scan to monitor response or to predict response to treatment, particularly a treatment called Avastin or bevacizumab. And because a lot of the PET scan studies, this is a clinical trial we're hoping to launch this year, they're all named after fruit. So I tried to really stretch the acronym and somehow got guava. So we're hoping to launch guava in the second half of this year, which will be another example of launching a clinical trial from the research that we did in the lab. Okay, so where is the starting line for the Sydney to Hobart? Is it Point Piper? Is it Milson's Point, Watson's Bay, or Rose Bay? So I do have to confess, this is from Google, but apparently it's here at Point Piper. So apparently, please fact check me and I'll take that. But yeah, so this is a picture of the start of the race at the beginning. And again, here we go for me stretching for an analogy. But what stands out is you have yachts that are clearly racing yachts, but then you have these boats and ships that are clearly not. And they're the spectators, the support craft, etc. And this is an example in a glioblastoma in a brain tumour. A lot of the cells there aren't actually brain cancer cells, actually in the tumour. So about half are brain cancer cells, but the other half are normal cells that the brain cancer cells have tricked to help them. And about a lot of them are immune cells, that the brain cancer has, the job of the immune cells is to find the brain cancer cells and get rid of them, but the brain cancer tricks them and gets these cells to help them instead. And so this is the other big overarching thing that we're looking at in the lab that's led to a lot of projects. So I mentioned Dr. Julius Kim, but he's looking at viruses, re-engineering viruses to kill brain cancer cells in a way that's inflammatory, that reignites the immune system. And he's also developing vaccines that help trigger, like you would with a COVID vaccine, your immune system recognises COVID. You can give a vaccine that makes your immune system recognise brain cancer. So he's doing that as well, which is very exciting, and that's something, again, unique at Bill Walsh Lab. The other thing that we're, in terms of this, that we've done is we conducted a trial looking at the COVID vaccines. And the reason why we did this was because COVID vaccines use the same technology that is being used in brain tumour vaccines, but instead of programming the immune system to attack the brain cancer, they told it to attack COVID. And so a major concern and limitation and why people aren't researching brain cancer vaccines as much is that these supporting cells, these supporting ships, so to speak, that are immune cells, not only suppress the immune system in the brain tumour, but over the whole body. And people are concerned that on top of treatments means if they get the vaccine, they won't be able to trigger the immune system. So we used, because it's the same technology, we used the COVID vaccine as an example and had a very large cohort of patients to show that people with brain cancer do mount a strong immune response. And it was a way to show that validate that the tumour vaccine is a viable option and something to explore. And that's something that was driven by Dr. Helen Wheeler, and was a bit of as it often is, a sudden news to us, but we somehow got it all together and pushed it through, and that's now, study is now being submitted to a journal, and hopefully we'll get results from that soon. So all of this is just the beginning. These are just some projects. We have more underway and more being planned. And please feel free throughout the day to come up, and if you want to ask me any questions or talk about it, I'm more than happy, and hopefully I don't look too scary, so please come up and ask me. It's in just the past couple of years we've been able to get a really strong team together in the lab, but also major collaborations in Australia and around the world, including Italy, Duke University, University of Michigan in the States, and which is just means things are getting more and more, which is really exciting. On top of that, we now have multiple honours students working at the Bill Walsh Lab. We have a medical student doing her MD project with us in the lab, and the brain cancer group is kindly in the process of arranging a PhD scholarship for a scientist, researcher, to really help foster the next generation of brain cancer research as well. And none of this would be possible without the support from the brain cancer group and the generous support of their donors and everyone in this room. And so I'd like to finish by giving a heartfelt thank you, and none of this would be possible without you.
Thank you, Alex. That was really interesting, and we're all looking forward to hearing the results of all this wonderful, wonderful work. It's all expanding very quickly. Our wonderful patient speaker. Emily Kirk is a young wife and mother, facing with grace and positivity her journey with a brain tumour. Emily is the operations manager of her family's business, Scoop Whole Foods, and has begun a podcast about this journey, a resource that will no doubt support many. Quoting Emily's own words from her community story on the TBCG website, "The brain cancer group was the safety net that caught me just as I began to spiral with fear. Dr. Back, Dr. Wheeler and nurse practitioner Marina knew all the details of my journey even before meeting me, and they instantly made me feel in control of the situation and in the safest hands. Not only was I being treated by them, but I also felt advocated for. I know they are putting their great minds together to do whatever they can to give me the best possible outcome and maybe one day cure." Ladies and gentlemen, please a very warm round of applause for Emily Kirk.
Good morning. Ready to go? Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for coming today, for supporting the Brain Cancer Group and the White Pearl Foundation and their cause. I'm selfishly grateful because your contributions have a direct impact on me. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. As I'm a patient of this amazing team of doctors and nurses, my name is Emily Kirk, and at 30 years old, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour. This journey started 18 months ago. I had just had my second daughter. I was in full mom mode, and I didn't have much time to think about myself, and I especially didn't have time to visit a doctor to discuss this strange thing that was happening to my vision every now and again. I had mentioned it throughout my pregnancy, but it had been put down to most likely being related to the pregnancy and stress. And I didn't think much more of it beyond that, but it persisted. And fatefully, it happened as I stood up to leave my 6-week postpartum checkup. And so I was referred for an MRI. Australians are so overly cautious. I thought, this MRI is going to be so expensive. How do I even coordinate 45 minutes to sit on my own in this machine just to get the all clear? Thankfully, my husband knew better, and he took the day off work so we could both pick up our brand new camper and get this task ticked off my never-ending list of admin. Not for a second did I think the results would be what they were. Not even when 1 hour after my scan, the GP's office called me to say that they think I might like to book in an appointment for first thing the next morning. This doesn't happen to young, healthy women in their 30s. I'm young, I don't even drink or smoke. It'll be fine, I told myself. But knowing what I know now, it does. Brain cancer can happen to anyone at any time. Of course, it's no surprise that it wasn't fine, because here I am, sharing this story with you today. I instantly felt the GP's anxiety when he called my name, and from then on I could tell from his shy demeanour that it wasn't good news. I put myself in his shoes. I had never met him before because this was an urgent appointment at a bulk billing clinic. I knew it wouldn't have been easy for him, especially considering I was holding a newborn in my arms. His hands were shaking, and he was giving me some random good news about the blood tests I had done a few weeks prior at my 6-week checkup. I've done this sandwich feedback routine before. I could feel the butt coming, so I interrupted him, and I said, "It's okay." He could tell me what the results of the MRI were. In some ways, I wasn't afraid. Only a few weeks prior, I was discussing with my best friend how I've had it too good for too long. Life had always gone my way, and I was sailing through it. Everything was going my way. I had this feeling that there was a target on me, and life was yet to give me its great big lessons. And so in some ways, I was preparing for the day the balls would drop. I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought it would most likely be my parents, this bad news looming in my future. I prepared myself for the day one of them might be telling me what their diagnosis was, and as they grew into old age, how I would cope with that, because that's the common thing, and that was meant to be the trajectory. When my grandparents died in their 80s from cancer, we celebrated their life. We didn't dwell heavily on what type of cancer it was and what treatment options they had. But life is funny like that. I walked out of the GP appointment, and there was my dad, already waiting outside, ready to hold me and carry me through this. I don't think I need to tell you how cancer has its way of affecting everyone around you and everyone you love. This is why you're here, so thank you. A few weeks after my surgery, I was diagnosed with astrocytoma with the IDH1 gene mutation. I feel a little shy, or maybe boastful, to share with you that I have this gene, because I know that I'm one of the lucky ones. In private, I tell myself how I got the golden ticket. Not everyone gets this silver lining like I do, and I know some of you might know of other people's stories who have had harder than mine. I didn't understand what this silver lining meant until I met Dr. Back. And for those few days in between hearing it was grade 3 and meeting him, I felt as though I was given a swift death sentence. It was my meeting with Dr. Back that changed my entire mindset and how I approach this diagnosis now. His manner and explanation of my situation put me at such ease. I had finally landed in the safety net of the brain cancer group after weeks of falling through air. It was myself, my dad, my husband, and our baby girl all sitting in his office that day. And when we came out, we were hunched over, hands on our knees, breathing as though we had just completed a marathon. It was a feeling of euphoric relief I will never forget. Oof. And it was December 23rd. What a great Christmas gift. I spent 2024 focusing on my treatment of radiation and chemotherapy. And I don't know if it was just me or because I have the greatest team backing me, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Since then, I have approached this diagnosis with a sense of positivity and gratitude that I'm so lucky to have been given the prognosis I have. I've been told that this tumor might not reoccur for another 10 to 15 years, possibly even longer, and maybe never. How good is that? But now we're another year down, and I know that with each year that passes, the confidence I have will slowly start to fade. I often picture my daughters being 10 and 12, and I have to tell them the news that a tumor has come back. Lost my space. Oh, okay. But I felt very lucky so far that they're too little to understand or even notice what's been going on. I raise them almost subconsciously, preparing them for that day, and as much as I try not to, I make decisions around it. Preparing for my death has become a part of my daily life, and I'm okay with that. I think the perspective this diagnosis has given me is a blessing. The small things don't matter to me, and I prioritize what's most important to me. I don't want to share my fears to garner sympathy from you. I have a really good life, a supportive husband, family, and friends. But please know that with every small win in the brain cancer space, it gives me confidence to keep going and keep enjoying my life without the dark cloud of what-ifs hanging over me. Every time a new study comes out, a trial starts, or a drug is released, I'm so thrilled because it keeps me motivated, even if it doesn't directly impact me or my tumor type. because I have blind faith that there are people working behind the scenes to do whatever they can to fix this and find a cure. Every day, I tell myself that before I hit the 10-year mark, more discoveries will be made within this 10-year time frame, and that I live by, and this time frame will keep being extended. So please, let's keep this movement going. The chain reaction of every discovery, big or small, has such an impact on all the patients and families going through this, not only medically, but mentally. A huge thank you to the Brain Cancer Group for everything you do and dedicating your lives to supporting your patients, their families, and finding a cure. Thank you.